She gave a hungry old dog one plate of food. The next day, she was fired without warning. But just when she thought her kindness had cost her everything, 4 Navy SEALs walked into the diner, and what they did left everyone frozen in place. Before I tell you what happened next, do me one favor, please. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, please tap that subscribe button. Most people watch and move on, but your one click could help this message reach someone who really needs it. You ever do something so small and kind, just because it felt like the right thing to do? No cameras, no crowd, no applause, just you, doing the right thing. That's exactly what Lisa did. She wasn't famous. She didn't have money or power. She just worked long hours in a quiet diner. And one day, she decided to share her lunch with an old stray dog outside. She never thought that simple act would turn her life upside down, or that 4 men who looked like they'd just walked out of a war zone would walk into that same diner days later, asking for her by name. Lisa Thompson had been working at Sonny's Diner for almost 6 years. That's over 2,000 mornings showing up at dawn, clocking in, pulling on that scratchy uniform that left her shoulders itchy, and still choosing to do it again the next day. Every morning she tied her apron tight, and no matter how tired she was, she put on that practiced smile. She'd scrub tables, fill coffee cups, chase down orders, and manage the cash register all day long. Didn't matter if it was freezing cold or blistering hot. She never called in sick, because bills don't care about conditions. It wasn't glamorous. The wages barely covered rent and utilities, and tips. They swung with every customer's mood. Some days she'd pull in enough to cover groceries and gas. Other days, well, she'd eat peanut butter sandwiches until Saturday. There was nothing fancy about her life or her job, but what kept her coming back every day wasn't money. It was that quiet hope inside her that maybe, just maybe, her kindness made someone's day a little better. See, Lisa wasn't a complainer. She'd learned early how easy it is to fall into self-pity, and how much harder it is to climb out. When she was in high school, her dad died in a car crash. She was 16. He was her biggest cheerleader, at her school plays, at every game, even round after round of basketball in the driveway at night. And then he was gone, just like that. Her mom broke down and fell apart, so Lisa dropped out of college, took a second job, moved her little brother into her room, so he wouldn't go into foster care. That's how life taught her to think. If someone needs help, you help, even when there's nothing left in your own cup. She learned to stretch every dollar, to fix things with duct tape and hope, to eat cheap ramen, so someone else didn't starve. And through all of that, she never let her heart harden. She never became numb. A plate of pasta didn't move her, but a scruffy animal in pain? That would get to her every time. It was a Thursday morning when she first noticed him. She was heading out for a cigarette during her break, and there, huddled beside the dumpster in the back alley, was a dog. He looked like he'd lived several lifetimes in that dirty space. Ribs sticking out like piano keys, fur matted and gray, and a paw that looked like it had been raw for days. She paused for a moment, cigarette halfway to her lips, and felt something tighten in her chest. Something told her this wasn't chance. So she dropped the half-smoked cigarette in the tray and went inside. That day's busy hustle had a customer returning a meatloaf special. He said it tasted dry. Lisa shook her head at the tray and kept it. It was still a full serving. On autopilot, she carried it back out, stopped beside the dumpster, and set it down. The dog lifted his head. His eyes were tired, empty. But when he saw the food, he didn't growl, didn't snap. He sat up, slowly, and nibbled, quiet. Then he looked at Lisa and gently wagged his tail. "Hey, buddy," she whispered, voice low enough only for him. "Take it easy." That one quiet meal started something. Over the next few days, she began saving scraps. Chicken bones from lunch, bread crusts, bits of vegetables no one else wanted. Charlie, because that's how she mentally referred to him, ate them carefully. He wouldn't finish it all, and often he slept beside it, as if afraid no one would return. All the while, Lisa kept her head down. She didn't post pictures. She didn't tell customers. She didn't ask for praise. Charlie was her little secret, until one day, she didn't check for cameras, and the manager, Mr. Roden, saw everything. From behind the kitchen window, he watched her bend down, hand out the plate, watched the dog eat. His jaw clenched. He tapped sharply on the glass, wanting someone to stop her student's empathy or take action, anything. "Lisa," he barked when she returned inside. "In my office, now." No one, not even the cooks, spoke up. He had that sort of voice, authority wrapped in impatience. He seated her, leaned forward, and spoke slowly. "Feeding a stray dog on company property. That's not allowed," he said. He didn't pause to see if she understood. "Policy's clear. No animals, no exceptions. You jeopardized food safety. You broke rules. She tried to say the food was going to be dumped, but he interrupted. If that was the case, you could have asked me, but you acted on your own. That's not your call. This is not a charity. We're a business. That was her first warning. She clenched her fists, lips trembling, but he said nothing about discipline, retraining, or write-ups. Just that tone. One more word, and he'd make this official. Over the next few mornings, Lisa tried to forget. She arrived extra early, cleaned extra thoroughly. The diner was her lifeline. She needed this job. Her mom's medical bills were piling up. Her brother's tuition was coming due. She had dreams, small ones, like fixing the car, and they all depended on this paycheck. But each day, as she readied herself to apologize, the locker was empty. Her name gone from a schedule. No shift assignments. The apron missing. A single white plastic bag hung in its place. She opened it. Inside, 2 folded shirts, a crumpled note. It said, "You're fired. Company policy. Sorry, but rules are rules." No signature. No thank you. No hint of regret. Lisa's heart froze. A truck hit her chest. She backed into the locker, breathing fast. A cook looked over. He mouthed something at her. Maybe sorry. Maybe I'd help if I could. But he turned away before she could reach him. She walked out. No goodbye. No hugs. No closure. Just the door slamming shut behind her. In that moment, something inside Lisa cracked. She felt a hollowness she hadn't felt since her dad died. Not about her job. She could find another one. The emptiness came from losing something more fragile than her paycheck. Her hope, her belief that doing the right thing meant something. As she shuffled through the rain-slick parking lot, she thought about Charlie, out there still, waiting for her. It wasn't just anger she felt. It was sorrow, guilt, even fear. What if the dog starved because of her? What if someone else fed him poisoned food? What if the owner reported him? What if he disappeared? At home, she stared at her phone, half expecting a message. From Roden, "Get your stuff." From a lawyer, "We've reviewed the situation." From Charlie, "Help me." But there was nothing, and that's when reality hit. Lisa had lost more than a job. That diner was all she had. Without it, how would she pay rent? How would her mom get her medicine? How would she keep her head above water? Suddenly, everything sunk in. One act of kindness had cost her everything, and with her future hanging by a thread, she looked at her reflection in the window. Tired eyes, ripped jeans, dirty sneakers, and wondered what she'd done. She'd been fired, she'd lost a lifeline, and she still had no idea how deep the consequences and the rewards of that one act of kindness would go. It had been 3 days since Lisa last wore her apron. 3 days since her name disappeared from the shift board. 3 days since she walked out of Sonny's diner with nothing but a plastic bag and a hollow feeling in her chest. But what weighed heavier than the job, the paychecks, or the future she'd planned was Charlie. That old dog was still out there, somewhere in that alley, still thin, still limping, still waiting. So, even though she had no reason to return, Lisa grabbed a few leftover chicken thighs, wrapped them in foil, and walked back to the diner. Not through the front door, not to ask for anything, just around the back, where the dumpsters sat, and silence always hung heavy. It was just past noon. The lunch rush would be in full swing. No one would be looking out the window, or so she hoped. She crept behind the brick wall, pressing her back against it like someone sneaking through enemy territory. Her footsteps slowed when she rounded the corner. He was there, curled into himself, head resting on one paw, still breathing. Lisa felt something twist in her chest, a strange mix of relief and guilt. "Hey boy," she whispered. Charlie didn't move at first, but then his nose twitched. His eyes opened just a little. When he saw her, he tried to lift his head, ears twitching. He remembered her. Lisa knelt and opened the foil. The chicken was cold, but it didn't matter. Charlie took one sniff, then began eating slowly, like he was still afraid it wasn't real. She didn't cry, not out loud, but her eyes stung. "How are you still here?" she asked, voice cracking. "Nobody's come for you." Charlie kept chewing, carefully, like every bite mattered. Lisa sat beside him on a pile of old cardboard. The alley smelled like grease and wet concrete, but it felt like the only honest place left in the world. She stroked the dog's back gently, feeling every bone under his fur. "You deserve more than scraps," she whispered. "More than hiding, more than this." That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She lay awake in her one-bedroom apartment, staring at the ceiling. Her thoughts weren't on her unpaid bills or empty fridge. They were stuck on Charlie, that lonely look in his eyes, that one slow wag of his tail. She didn't know why, but it felt like fate. So the next morning, she returned. Again, and the morning after that, She brought what she could: half a sandwich, rice from the fridge, stale crackers soaked in water. Every time, Charlie waited. Every time, he got closer, trusted her more. And every time, she fell deeper into something she couldn't name. On the fourth day, she brought a blanket, folded it neatly, set it near the dumpster. It wasn't warm, but it was something soft to sleep on. Charlie sniffed it, turned in a slow circle, and curled up, right beside her. That's when she decided, he's not just a stray anymore, he's mine. But claiming him and saving him were two different things. Lisa knew she couldn't bring Charlie into her apartment. She hung up. Her landlord had a strict no-pet policy. One complaint from a neighbor, and she'd be sleeping on the sidewalk. Animal shelters? She called 3. All were full. One suggested putting him down if he was too old to rehome. Still, she kept trying. She posted in local Facebook groups. Found this senior dog behind Sonny's diner. Sweet, calm, needs medical care. Any foster homes open? No response. Just likes. A few sad reacts. One comment. Looks like an old army dog. You can tell from the posture. Lisa blinked. She looked at the photo again. Charlie wasn't standing tall, but he wasn't hunched either. His gaze was focused. His ears twitched at the slightest sound. Could it be? Later that night, she Googled military working dog retired signs. She read for hours. Gray fur, common in older working dogs. Limping on the right leg? Could be from a past deployment injury. Behavioral signs? Focus gaze. Quiet. Trust issues. Responds to authority. It all lined up. Lisa sat back in her chair, heart racing. Could Charlie have been a soldier? She went back to the Facebook comment and clicked on the profile. A man in his 40s. Military background. Bio said former Navy SEAL. Name, Eric Mason. Lisa didn't hesitate. She messaged him. Hi, I saw your comment about the dog outside Sonny's. I've been feeding him. I think you might be right. Wasn't panicked. He doesn't act like a normal stray. Do you know someone I could talk to? An hour passed. No reply. Then a ding. Send me a clear photo. From the front, and one from the side. She did. Okay, he replied, after 5 minutes. Wait, Lisa's hands were shaking. Another ping. Can I call you? She typed. Yes. Seconds later, her phone rang. Is this Lisa? A deep voice asked. Yes. Where are you right now? At home. Why? I need you to listen carefully. His voice, it was trained, precise, like someone used to giving orders under pressure. I've served with dozens of dogs. That one in your photo, I think I know him. His name isn't Charlie. It's Gunnar. Lisa swallowed hard. Gunnar. He served in Afghanistan, trained to detect IEDs, traveled with SEAL teams, saved lives, disappeared during a transfer, was marked unaccounted for 6 months ago. She didn't know what to say. Are you sure? Not 100%, he said, but close. I'm contacting a few guys from my unit. Some of them served with Gunnar. I need a day, maybe 2. Lisa nodded, even though he couldn't see her. Okay, he paused. You did a good thing, Lisa. Feeding him, keeping him safe. Her voice cracked. I didn't do enough. You did more than anyone else did in 6 months. And then he hung up. That night, Lisa barely slept. Was it true? Could the tired old dog in the alley have once sniffed out bombs, protected soldiers, survived gunfire? She looked at Charlie differently the next morning. His limp, his scars, his quiet strength. He wasn't just an old soul. He was a survivor. And now, maybe, he was coming home. The next morning, Lisa got another call. This time, it wasn't Eric. Hi, is this Lisa Thompson? Yes, this is Petty Officer James Vickers. I'm with the U.S. Navy. I believe you're in contact with a dog we've been searching for. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. We'd like to verify his identity. If possible, we'll send a team to assess and bring him into our care. A pause. We're outside your apartment now. Lisa jumped to her feet. She ran to the window. Outside, parked quietly along the curb, was a dark SUV. 4 men stood beside it, tall, fit, clean-cut, and one of them, he was holding a leash. At the end of it was Charlie. He looked confused, nervous, but unharmed. Lisa raced to the door, and when she opened it, everything changed. Lisa opened the door with her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. And there he was, Charlie, or Gunnar, if what they said was true, standing next to a man in full Navy uniform. The dog looked up at her, tail wagging cautiously, ears perked the way they always were when she came close. He looked like he wasn't sure if he was dreaming. Lisa dropped to her knees. Hey, buddy, she whispered, gonna let out a soft huff, and stepped forward. He rested his muzzle against her shoulder, eyes closing for a second as if in relief. The man holding the leash gently handed it over to Lisa. You've done something incredible, he said quietly. "This dog, he's one of ours." The other men behind him stayed silent. They didn't need to speak. Their faces told the whole story. Solemn, respectful, just a little in awe. Lisa rose slowly. "Is he really?" The officer, Petty Officer Vickers, nodded. "We believe he's Gunner. Military working dog. ID code Delta Sierra 18. He was assigned to SEAL Team 7 for 4 years. Multiple deployments. He's saved more lives than we can count." Lisa blinked fast. "But how did he end up in an alley behind a diner?" Vickers looked away for a moment. After his final deployment, Gunner was being transported between bases. Somewhere along the way, the paperwork got lost. He was transferred to a temporary shelter, but the shelter shut down due to budget cuts. The backup handler was reassigned. No one noticed. No microchip records. Just gone. Lisa swallowed hard. "So he was abandoned?" Vickers' jaw tightened. "Yes, by mistake. But that mistake nearly cost him his life." Another SEAL stepped forward. He was taller, broader, his uniform tighter around his arms. A faded scar curved down one cheek. "I served with Gunner," he said. 3 tours. He found explosives before they could kill us. One time, he dragged a wounded guy 40 feet to safety. He didn't hesitate. He looked down at the dog, who, now hearing his voice, tilted his head. "We thought he was dead." Lisa didn't know what to say. She looked at Gunner, her Charlie, and then back at the men. "Why didn't anyone find him sooner?" The man nodded slowly. "We tried, but after the transfer failure, he vanished, and nobody reported seeing him. Until you." Lisa furrowed her brow. "But I never posted anything official." Vickers stepped in. "You didn't, but someone else did. One of your neighbors shared a photo on a local Lost Pets group. A friend of ours saw it. It spread fast once the right eye saw it." Lisa laughed softly in disbelief. "All this because of one photo?" "No," Vickers said. "All this because of you." They took Gunner into the vehicle for a proper exam. Lisa stood on the sidewalk, arms wrapped around herself, watching as they carefully lifted him in. He didn't resist. He looked back at her once, long enough to make her blink back tears. "Where are you taking him?" she asked. "To a secured facility for retired working dogs," Vickers replied. "We need to confirm his identity, treat his injuries, and make sure he's healthy. After that, well, he's earned his rest." Lisa nodded slowly, unsure how to feel. She was happy he was safe, that he'd be cared for, but her chest ached in a way she didn't expect, like a piece of her had been gently taken away. As if reading her mind, Vickers added, "He hasn't bonded with anyone like that in a long time, not even his last handler. That means something." Lisa looked down. "What happens next?" "We'll be in touch." And then they drove off. For the next 2 days, the silence in Lisa's apartment was deafening. No scratching at the door, no soft whine in the alley, no tail thumps when she walked outside. She kept checking her phone, refreshing her messages, scrolling through that same photo over and over again. Charlie by the dumpster, head tilted, ears up, her Charlie. On the 3rd day, a knock. Lisa opened the door, heart racing again. It wasn't the Navy. It was Mr. Roden, her old manager from Sonny's Diner. His arms were crossed, face unreadable. "Can I talk to you for a second?" he asked. Lisa didn't answer. She just stepped outside, closing the door behind her. Roden shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I know we didn't part on great terms. That's putting it mildly," Lisa said. "I fired you for violating company policy," he said, his tone stiff. "But now there are Navy guys showing up. People are talking. Customers want to know why the woman who fed a military hero dog got canned." Lisa folded her arms. And now I'm getting calls from reporters. The mayor's office. Some veteran group said they're organizing a boycott." He sighed heavily. "So I'm offering your job back. Full-time. Pay bump. Even offered to put up a plaque about the dog." Lisa didn't say anything. Roden added, "This place needs you, Lisa." She looked him in the eye. "No," she said. Roden blinked. "I don't need that place," she continued. "Not anymore." And she shut the door. That night, her phone finally rang again. It was Vickers. "Gunner's confirmed," he said. "DNA matched. He's 100% our dog." Lisa closed her eyes. Relief, joy, and a stab of sadness. "We'd like you to come see him," he added. "He hasn't really settled. He eats, but he doesn't relax. He keeps looking around, like he's waiting for someone." Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. "We think it's you," he said. "He bonded with you out there. That kind of trust, it's rare." She whispered, "Okay, I'll come." The next morning, they flew her out to the K-9 Unit Center, a sprawling green campus hidden on the outskirts of a nearby military base. Trees lined the drive. You could hear birds chirping and the wind through the pines. When Lisa arrived, an officer greeted her and walked her toward the kennel area. Rows of large fenced spaces, each with a shaded enclosure. But only one dog stood at full alert, ears perked, tail wagging. Gunner. The moment he saw her, he barked once. Loud, happy. The officer opened the gate. Lisa stepped inside. Gunner rushed toward her. Not fast enough to knock her down, but enough to make her stumble back with a laugh. He licked her hand, then her face, then leaned into her like he never wanted to be apart again. He hasn't done that with anyone, the officer said. Lisa smiled, tears streaking her cheeks. I missed you too, buddy. Later that day, they asked her a question she didn't expect. Would you consider adopting him permanently? Lisa froze. Me? I thought he's military property. He's retired now, Vickers said. Fully decommissioned. He's not a tool anymore. He's a hero who deserves peace. And he clearly chose you. Lisa looked at Gunner, who had just laid his head on her foot. She nodded. Yes, 1,000 times yes. 3 days later, Lisa signed the adoption papers. A ceremony was held. Small, quiet, dignified. 3 Navy SEALs stood in uniform. They handed her a certificate, a folded flag, and Gunner's official medal. One of them leaned in and said, "He saved our lives, and you saved his." Lisa didn't know what to say, but Gunner, he just wagged his tail. It had been nearly a week since Lisa signed the adoption papers. Gunner was finally home, her home. He had a soft bed in the corner of her living room, a basket full of toys, most of which he ignored, and a routine they'd both come to love. Early morning walks, quiet afternoons, where he'd lay with his head on her foot while she worked on job applications, gentle belly rubs after dinner. Lisa still didn't have a job, but something in her felt calmer now, like just knowing Gunner was safe had returned some of her balance. She didn't need to rush. Life would unfold when it was ready. For once, she believed that. But what she didn't know was that life had one more twist coming. It was a bright Tuesday morning when it happened. Lisa was taking Gunner on their usual walk past Sonny's diner. Not because she missed the place, but because the alley behind it had become part of their story. She still felt tethered to that curb where it all began. They walked slowly, Gunner's pace measured, his limp noticeable, but not painful anymore. He paused near the dumpster, sniffed at the old spot, then looked up at her. "You remember, huh?" she said softly. That's when she saw it, a sign in the window of the diner. Veterans Welcome Breakfast, today only. Red, white, and blue lettering. A small American flag taped in the corner. Lisa tilted her head, curious. She peered through the glass, then froze. 4 Navy SEALs were seated at the largest booth near the window. One of them turned, locking eyes with her. Eric. He smiled and waved her in. Lisa hesitated. Her feet wanted to move. Her pride wanted to keep walking. That place had turned its back on her. She didn't owe them anything, but Gunner nudged her leg, and that was enough. She stepped inside. It was like stepping back into a memory. Same greasy smell, same clinking of plates, same linoleum tiles worn down by time. Only this time, it was different. Heads turned. A few customers whispered. One of the newer waitresses actually gasped. "Is that the dog?" Someone clapped quietly. Lisa's cheeks flushed. She didn't know where to look, but the SEAL stood up, and the room went quiet. Eric was first. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice steady, "I want to introduce you to the person who saved one of our own. This woman right here didn't wear a uniform. She didn't carry a weapon. She wasn't deployed. But she showed more honor, loyalty, and heart than some people who do." Lisa's eyes widened. "Eric, what?" Another SEAL stepped forward. "Gunner served 3 tours with us," he said. "He saved lives, took shrapnel, detected explosives. But when he was lost, no one found him. No one except her." He looked around the diner. This place fired her for giving a starving dog a plate of food. That food didn't just feed him. It gave him time. Time to be seen. Time to be saved. The diner was silent. Roden, yes, that Roden, emerged from the back. His eyes were red. His hands trembled. He looked at Lisa and opened his mouth, then closed it again. The third SEAL handed Lisa something wrapped in a dark blue velvet cloth. She unfolded it. Inside was a military medal, gold polished, heavy in her hands. The engraving read, "In honor of civilian courage and compassion, awarded by SEAL Team 7. Lisa's breath caught. Tears pooled in her eyes. "We don't give that to many people," Eric said. "But you earned it." As if on cue, the waitress behind the counter rang a small silver bell. Then something completely unexpected happened. From the kitchen, the mayor of the town walked out. He carried a framed proclamation in one hand. "I had to be here today," he said. "This story, this dog, this woman, they reminded us all what kindness really looks like." He turned to Lisa, and what it costs sometimes. He cleared his throat and read aloud. "For acts of compassion that restored faith in humanity, and for service to a forgotten veteran of war, we hereby declare this day, Lisa Thompson Day. In our town, applause erupted. Some customers stood, others wiped their eyes. A kid in the corner saluted. Gunnar barked softly. Lisa dropped to her knees and hugged him tight, unable to say a word. He licked her cheek, tail wagging. But that wasn't all. As the mayor stepped back, Eric reached into his jacket and pulled out a letter, sealed with a gold emblem. "We wanted to save this for last," he said. "Lisa, we started a fund. A few of our brothers, some of our former handlers, even folks from out of state who read your story." Lisa's brow furrowed. Eric handed her the letter. She opened it slowly and gasped. Inside was a certified notice. $42,000 had been deposited in a trust, meant for Gunnar's long-term medical care, Lisa's personal expenses, and a fresh start. She covered her mouth. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to," Eric said. "You already did when you gave your dinner to a stray." The diner staff came forward next. Even Roden. The silence between him and Lisa stretched uncomfortably long. Then at last he spoke. "I was wrong," he said. "I fired you over a plate of food. I didn't see the full picture." Lisa didn't speak. He stepped forward, extending a hand. "If there's anything I can do." She looked at his hand, then shook it. "You can start by putting out a water bowl in the alley," she said. He smiled. "Done." Later that day, after the SEALs had finished their meals and Gunnar had snuck a bite of bacon from Lisa's plate, they stood to leave. Eric saluted her. Lisa smiled and returned it, awkwardly, but sincerely. "You ever need anything," he said, "you call us. Gunnar's family now. That means you are too." She nodded, blinking away tears. "Thank you." They left quietly. No fanfare, just quiet dignity. Gunnar sat beside her, head high, as if proud of what just happened. Lisa looked around the diner. The same place that once broke her had just become the backdrop to her redemption. And somehow, all of it started with one simple act, a plate of cold meatloaf, and a hungry dog behind a dumpster. In the end, Lisa didn't just save a dog. She uncovered a story the world had forgotten. A story about a soldier who couldn't speak, a hero who'd been left behind, and a woman who saw through the dirt, the scars, and the silence, and still chose kindness. It's easy to think small actions don't matter, that feeding a stray dog is just a moment, a quiet gesture no one sees. But sometimes, those quiet gestures echo louder than we ever imagined. Lisa didn't do it for praise. She didn't do it for recognition. She did it because she couldn't walk past suffering, because something inside her told her, if not me, then who? And in doing so, she helped rewrite the ending of a war dog story. She gave Gunnar back his name, his dignity, his peace. But in return, Gunnar gave her something just as powerful. He reminded her, and all of us, what loyalty really looks like, what courage sounds like when it doesn't need to bark, and what it means to stand by someone, even when no one else will. This story wasn't about a diner, or a firing, or even a medal. It was about a woman who proved that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted, because sometimes that act is exactly what saves a life. Subscribe to Paws and Claws for more stories that remind us how compassion, loyalty, and second chances can change the world, one paw at a time.